portion. My name is Zach, here with AAPC Publishing, and we are here with Amy Buie, author of the new AAPC book, Behavior Mapping. Amy, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
For starters, tell us about your background in autism.
Well, I taught in several schools, working with classrooms of autism. My background is a public school teacher. I have my master's in education, and also as a behavior analyst, I've worked with a lot of schools. And so prior to opening the Center for Autism, which is our school for kids with autism, I worked in a number of school districts, always with classrooms of kids with autism. So I've been working with the population for probably about 20 years now.
Okay, and I know that you were the founder and the executive director of the Center for Autism Education. That's correct, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about the center and maybe the history of it and where it's come today since you started it.
Okay. I actually worked in a school district here in O'Fallon, Missouri, and I had a student, Sam, that had some aggressive behaviors. And once he transitioned to middle school, we had trouble making him successful. He had punched somebody in the nose and gave him a bloody nose, and they said, oh, we don't think he can come back. So that's kind of what prompted me to open the school, was really to take kids with autism that had more severe behaviors, that were really having a hard time in the public school setting, maybe because they were hitting or scratching. And that's what we do. We've been open for 12 years now, and we contract with school districts for what a lot of people call the hardest of the hardest kids, in order to help them with their behaviors.
Okay, and over the years, how many people would you say that you've served through the center?
Well, right now we have 45 students, but we also recently opened a preschool, so we're doing early intervention for kids with autism ages 2, 3, and 4. We also have a vocational training center for some of our individuals in high school that are going to be moving into the work community. And then we also opened an adult program for those that graduated and needed support. So over the time, we've probably served over 150 individuals.
Okay, and obviously your book, Behavior Mapping, that is your first book with AAPC Publishing. Talk to me about the book and what, for people that aren't familiar, what exactly is a behavior map?
Well, I started using behavior maps with kids with autism in, I think, '98. I had a student with high-functioning autism who had a number of behaviors, and I had a hard time teaching him that what he did resulted in the things that happened. For example, if he followed directions, he would get time on the computer, but if he refused and ripped his paper, he would not get time on the computer. So I was trying to share that with him multiple times, just telling him, and then I realized I really needed a visual support. We know visual supports help kids with autism. So I put that in the form of pictures. It's almost like a flow chart, so that it says in one area, maybe it's got a picture of Billy, and it says that he's got work to do, and then an arrow points to another circle that says you can get your work done and follow directions, and then the next arrow leads to another circle that finally says you'll get computer time, so that he can see when he makes the right choice, he can get computer time. Down on the bottom, there would be another arrow that said if you rip your paper, then leading to another arrow and circle, it would say no computer time, with maybe a picture of a computer and an X through it. So it just clearly tells kids and helps them understand cause and effect, that when they do what we want them to do and follow that behavior that we're really trying to teach them, good things will happen, and this is how that will happen.
Okay, and what would you say, obviously your intended audience, it sounds like it's going to be, students on the spectrum, and also even for special educators who are teaching these methods to their kids, is that correct?
Yes, I definitely have been teaching it to educators, and teachers have said this is one of the easiest strategies to apply right away in the classroom, because you just really decide, what problem behavior you want to work on, what you want to teach the kids to do instead, and then being able to put reinforcement in place. So it's something really easy to do. However, as I've given the strategy to teachers, a lot of times these same teachers are bringing it into the home and saying, to the parents, this is really working at school, so why don't you try them at home? And I've gotten feedback that it works for them as well. And so really it can, work for any child that has some problem behavior when you're wanting to teach them a more appropriate behavior and how you can make that happen.
And Finally, if you had, I mean, obviously, I know there's a lot of different strategies out there for teaching people on the spectrum and whatnot, and for maybe a parent with a child that's maybe been recently diagnosed or something like that, and they are looking at maybe different teaching methods, or people have been giving them, different methods. Why, in particular, behavior mapping? What, I guess, makes behavior mapping stand out, or in your mind, why behavior mapping? Why is that? Why do you believe that's the best method?
Sure. Well, anytime we have problem behavior, and problem behavior can be somebody hitting, but it could also be somebody just not following directions. Or I've told teachers before, a child that just wants to sleep instead of work. Sometimes people think of problem behavior as being, really, really tough behavior, but really it's just something that we would like for the kids to do different. And anytime we teach new behavior, maybe it's wanting a child to raise their hand or ask appropriately for something, then we want to reinforce that. We want to give them positive reinforcement to help them teach that, to help us teach that new behavior. So a behavior map does those two things. It helps you put that reinforcement in place so you can easily teach those new behaviors, but then specifically for kids with autism, it does it in a way that's visual. So there's pictures and words, which is their best way of learning typically. And so it's a really great thing to just start off real easy for kids with autism, either as a parent or a teacher.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and lastly, I mean, is there anything else you would like to add, or anything maybe that you would like to touch on to speak to parents out there, educators, in terms of behavior mapping?
Well, I think it's just a really easy strategy to use, and in the book it shows lots of examples because I've used them for a lot of different kids, and I think being able to see the examples with actual pictures, and we've used them for, I had a student that loved to make copies on the copy machine, and so you can see that when he had the right behavior he got to make a copy and show all of the success with that. The only other thing is that sometimes because we use pictures in the behavior maps, it's hard sometimes finding the right pictures and that kind of thing. So I am working on a web-based program to be able to help people, teachers, parents, whomever, to make some of the behavior maps by being able to upload their own pictures, because sometimes the reinforcements that kids like are not the typical kinds of things, and a real photo can be even more helpful for some of those kids. But I just really encourage people to try them out. They work real well and they're easy to do.
All right, and thank you. And for people that want to learn more about the Center for Autism Education, can you just tell us quickly what's your web address, and to learn more, who, maybe a number to call?
Yeah, sure. Our website is www.teachautism.org, and they can call myself or my associate director, Stephanie. That number is 636-978-7785. We have people come all the time for tours, and we would love to invite people to come see what we do, because it's always helpful to actually see best practice in place. So we invite anybody to call us and come see what we do.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time today, Amy. Folks, my name is Zach, and once again, I'm with AAPC Publishing. If you want to learn more about Amy Buie, make sure to visit the Center for Autism Education's website, or to learn more about her, visit our website, or if you want to purchase her book, Behavior Mapping, make sure to visit our website at www.aapcpublishing.net, or if you have any questions or would like to learn more about our products or services, give us a call at 913-897-1004. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. Take care.